Hey girl, Marissa here. You are listening to the Codependent Dummy podcast. As a young woman, you have been raised, reinforced, and rewarded for putting the needs of others above your own. Now, in your 20s, you're finding yourself exhausted, exasperated, and enveloped in shit relationships, especially the one you have with yourself. Codependency is a way of being where we put the feelings, wants, and needs of others above our own in an unconscious attempt to meet our own feelings, wants, and needs. Sorry to break it to you, sis, but that is not sustainable. This podcast is to help you undo all that so you can stop playing small and start taking up space, you dummy. Let's get to it. Hey girl, hey. Today we are discussing how and why feelings are meant to be felt. I'm going to walk you through a 4-step process to help you honor your feelings, to help you honor your fucking feelings. Before that, let's check in. First, baby girl, I apologize that my new laptop is so loud. I am working on it. The solo cast about a month ago, I listened back and you can just hear the of my new lappy, which is just new. And I'm working on it. Second, how are you? How are you feeling? Are you taking care of your needs? If so, how? How are you achieving that? And if you're not, why not? Why not, baby girl? It's officially fall here in the States, and I believe officially other seasons for all international listeners. And I say that in this tone and with this face because I'm a dummy and not 100% sure. So let's assume I'm right. With the seasons changing, I want to encourage you to take time and reflect on your own changes, right? There's these external changes. Let's look at the internal ones. What changes have you made lately? Are they healthy, unhealthy, helpful, unhelpful? What changes do you need to make as we head into the holiday season? And reflecting on aspects of the weather and seasons, like the leaves falling from the trees. Is there anything you need to let go of or shed? Like the rain. Is there anything you need to cry about or grieve? Just like that. I, for one, am definitely learning to say no to more things this fall so I can slow the fuck down. I have a nephew on the way, which I'm happy to announce now that my sister finally posted about it on Instagram. And I am not going to be like a regular aunt. I'm going to be the bossy, assist, amazing, cool aunt. So, in my attempt to combat the other esteem, as opposed to self-esteem that I get by saying yes to everyone, I'm saying no more and more. right? The non-negative no that Eckhart Tolle has taught us about, where it's not, hey, Marissa, can you attend this networking event? Hell no. And now I hear my gardener. Hello, gardener. Thank you for doing such a good job. And also, uh, perfect timing. So it's not hell no. It's, hey, Marissa, can you do this favor for me? No, no, I can't. No, I'm sorry. No, I'll pass. A non negative no. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you. Yes, you listening to these words at this moment. I'm so glad you're here. Girl, this is how you do the work. You show up and you listen to the Codependent podcast. Bravo. Be sure to tune in next week. Be another solo cast. I'm going to share listener Nathan's 90-day update on the 30-day self-validation challenge that I gave him on the last codependent dilemma. He just keeps going. And I'm so proud of him. I hope you are too. If you have started the self-validation challenge, I'd love to hear more. If you're curious about how to start, you can listen to episodes that aired on June 21st, July 21st, I think August 3rd, 21st. I think we did 3 months. And next week, I'm going to discuss self-validation more. So stay tuned. And today's focus, this week's focus, how to honor your feelings in 4 steps. First step, identify. Second step, invite. Third step, intention. Fourth step, iterate. Okay, 4 I's. But first, let's discuss definitions because I love definitions. To honor. Honor your feelings. What the fuck does to honor mean? According to Google, to honor means to regard with great respect. Synonyms include salute, recognize, value, and cherish. Thank you, Google. Feelings. What the fuck are feelings? According to Google, feelings are emotional states or reactions, the emotional side of one's character, emotional responses or tendencies to respond. Okay. So combining to honor and your feelings, I mean to regard your emotional state, your emotional response, your emotional reaction with value. Your feelings matter. Unfortunately, a hallmark of codependency is honoring the feelings of others while dishonoring our own feelings. For decades, I have been so conscious of how other people are feeling that I did and still do have a hard time having any idea what I'm feeling. I have and continue, as I'm sure you do too, I've dishonored and denied my feelings through defense mechanisms like denial, repression, and suppression. Putting my psychotherapist hat on, denial, we tend to know what it means, and I want to spell these three out here since I see them so often intertwined with codependency. Denial, failure to acknowledge an unacceptable emotion or to admit it into consciousness. I can be angry and fail to acknowledge because I've been given a message that my anger is unacceptable. And it's so threatening to admit it to my consciousness. I'm just going to deny it. And that is a very conscious narrative. Denial is typically unconscious. So, but that is the mechanism, how it works. Repression and suppression, similar but different. So, repression is unconscious. Okay, baby girl. It is the restraint, prevention, or inhibition of a feeling. And we don't know that we're doing it. With suppression, that is conscious. It is like in the definition, the conscious inhibition of unacceptable feelings. Let's say that again. Suppression is the conscious inhibition of unacceptable feelings. I'm in a situation, I feel sad. I feel hurt by someone else. And the tears start to form. And there is a conscious, semi conscious thought like, no, Marissa, you do not cry in this person. You will not show them weakness. And you just push that shit down. That's suppression. At some time in your life, these methods, denial, repression, suppression, and other ways, distraction, of dealing with your feelings was very helpful. The most helpful. And it may be helpful in certain situations currently and in the future. However, overall, dishonoring your feelings is not sustainable. I am not going to detail why it's hard for you to honor your feelings, but let's blame our parents, their parents, and their parents before them, as well as cultural influences, the media, sexism, the education system. Add your institution here. Let's just blame them. I dishonor my feelings because of y'all. Thanks. We can blame them all we want, but now we, as young women, have to grow the fuck up. Take responsibility and honor our feelings since ultimately no one else will, no one has, and potentially no one will. I think I just said the same thing twice. No one else has or will unless we do, unless you do. Today, this week, this month, this year, I want to challenge you to take contrary action and start to honor your feelings. Step one, identify. To identify your feelings, ask yourself, how am I feeling? How am I feeling right now? In psychology literature, we suggest that there are about 8 primary emotions. I'm going to list them out and see which one resonates most with you right now. Anger, sadness, fear, afraid, joyful, surprised, disgusted, ashamed, love. What resonates most? You just identified your feelings. Feeling, you can feel one or more at the same time. Ambivalence is a great feeling. That's mixed emotions. These are the suggested 8 primary emotions. And I want you to picture them like umbrellas. The angry umbrella, also underneath that include anger, annoyance, frustration, rage, pissed. So know that if a feeling did come up that I didn't read, it likely falls into one of the 8 umbrellas, primary emotion umbrellas. Also, we have secondary emotions. Talk about confusing, which are emotional reactions to an emotion. For example, instead of feeling sad that our partner is texting someone flirtatiously, instead of feeling sad, we feel disgusted and think, ew, fucking animal. Ugh. It's important to take a minute, literally, and put your hand on your heart and ask, how am I feeling? How am I really feeling right now to help yourself determine what, if it's a secondary emotion, what's primary? If it's primary, which one? Am I really disgusted that he's texting someone flirtatiously or devastated? That is how you identify your feelings. Inquiry. Step number 2, invite your feelings. Pull out the welcome mat for your feelings. That's either from Janine Roth or Anne Lamott, who I have been reading voraciously, and I could not find the quote. So Thank you, Janine or Anne. They encourage just pull out the welcome mat and invite your feelings in. If you are feeling angry, be fucking angry. If you're feeling sad, be sad. If you're excited, then be fucking excited. Allow your feelings to take up space in you. Acknowledge the feeling and accept the visceral response, the physical response. This really involves a dialogue in your head. Marissa, for example, Marissa, this is sad. You're sad. Sad. Cue the tears, cue the frown, the desire to curl up into a ball, and then follow those cues. Cry, curl up, and frown. Inviting your feelings can be done via journaling. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling disgusted. You can sit in solitude, in meditation, listening to a song that invites the emotion, and just sit with it. You can talk about it in therapy. You can lay in bed and invite your feelings to come up. In the bath, in the shower, in the car, in the bathroom, any place that marks solitude or with others, right? A therapist or a trusted confidant. For example, calling a friend, I'm feeling really angry right now. I listened to this podcast and was told to talk through it. Can you listen while I talk through my anger? No feedback, just a loving witness. And so you can invite others. According to the research, feelings when felt last 90 seconds. 90 seconds. I don't know how the fuck we can be depressed for so much longer. I haven't had an intense emotion and thought, okay, let me sit and time it for 90 seconds. I have tried to avoid it, which maybe explains why I'll be depressed and have been depressed for months. If you truly identify and invite the feeling in, maybe it is 90 seconds of intensity. Let it take up all the space that it needs. It is not going to kill you. You may just be a minute and a half, 2.5, 5 minutes away from some relief. Maybe the worst part of the emotion can be felt within 90 seconds. I'll experiment. You experiment. Let's see. That is how you invite your feelings. Step number 3, intention or intentional action. This is where the honoring comes in. Intentional means done on purpose, deliberate, taking conscious action, behaving in a calculated manner based on your feelings. I hypothesize that your feelings, when they come up, are trying to communicate to you. Something is coming up that deserves your attention. After one, identifying it, two, inviting it, three, you may need to act on it. For example, if you're feeling heartbroken because your partner is texting someone flirtatiously, you just saw it while looking at something on their phone, very quickly identify your heartbroken, invite the heartbrokenness, maybe you start to tear up and cry. And the intentional action may be to say, I just saw you're texting that girl from work. That breaks my heart. I asked you not to do that. We need to talk about this. Or this is fucking over, but I don't know the situation. Potentially, intentional action may be if you're feeling bored at a social gathering, you leave. You leave. Okay? You identify the feeling. This party blows. You invite the feeling, like breathing loudly and, you know, falling asleep on your hand and paying attention to yourself. Yeah, thank you, Bill. Intentional action may look like if your friend keeps flaking and you are feeling unimportant, you invite the unimportantness in and you take action by setting a boundary. You text her, girl, you have canceled the last 3 times. I do not feel like a priority. Can you take initiative with making plans this weekend and commit to them? I need to feel valued in this friendship. There you go. I, for one, am working on this step the most because all of them are hard, and this this is where I'm at. Step four, fourth step, we have identified, invited, taken intentional action with our feelings. Fourth step, iterate to develop courage. Iterate, repeat. Repeat it over and over and over. It will get easier every time. I promise. It's like a muscle. And the more practice, the more tries, the more honor you give your feelings, the easier it gets. Remind yourself, identify, invite, intentional action, and iterate. Marissa said so. This whole dishonoring my feelings is getting old. Like the tiger in the Wizard of Oz, I, as a codependent, am working my ass off to develop courage. And it takes ovaries to do this. It takes internal strength in the face of others, and it's possible. I've done it, other listeners have done it, other recovered codependents have done it, and you can do it too. To help with the application, I'm going to share 2 anecdotes. I call this piece a tale of 2 feelings. First feeling involved not going to my in-laws. Second feeling involved inviting guests on this podcast. Here we go. Feeling number one, a tale of feeling number one, when I felt afraid. Back in September of 2019, my husband and I had plans to go visit my brother, mother, and father in law in the Bay Area in California for international listeners. A month prior, there was a mass shooting in El Paso, Texas, that targeted Mexicans. And being Latina, this shooting, as all shootings have, but this shooting in particular impacted me. I previously had protested gun violence in the March for Our Lives and was well read on the statistics of guns thanks to my alma mater, UC Santa Barbara, having a shooting in 2014, and a case study, an analysis on the shooter Elliot Rogers that I had conducted in graduate school. My knowledge and advocacy for gun violence was paralleled with my brother-in-law's interest in firearms. While I was posting pictures of protests, he was posting pictures of his guns and afternoons at the shooting ranges, right? The contrast, the juxtaposition. At the time, I was having strong emotions about my safety after the shooting, before we were heading up. While discussing his brother's firearm hobby, my husband told me around that time that someone had come to their door, to my in-laws' front door, and he looked like an intruder, that my brother-in-law threatened with his gun. Likely it wasn't an intruder given where they reside. And that story made me uncomfortable because I didn't want to be around guns, being waved. Yeah, available, guns being available, etc. Applying this to the steps, identify. I felt afraid. Invite. Invited the fear. I talked about it with my therapist, a fellow Latina at the time, who encouraged me to honor my feelings. And I took intentional action. I sat down with my husband and said, hey, if we go, I prefer for all firearms to be locked and stored away the entirety of our time there. If not, if that request is undoable, I can stay at a hotel and stop by when they're stored away. And my husband said, I get it. Sounds good. Then comes in iterate, repeat. The plans we made to fly up were upon us. The weekend we were headed up, a month after the shooting in El Paso, we were there. And coincidentally, we were headed up on a weekend that my brother-in-law would be out of town and his guns would be stored away securely. Great. But, girl, on the way to the airport, my husband, looking up from his phone, informed me, oh, there's been a change of plans and my brother is going to be home this weekend. Let's do the steps again. Identify. I felt anxious. Inviting the feelings. I couldn't really fight it. My heart was racing. I felt jittery and physically charged. The intentional action I took based on my emotions, I made indirect and direct requests. I asked my husband, um, can you see if he has plans to go to the shooting range this weekend? That was not a clear request. I don't know why I asked that. But my husband texted him and informed me, oh, he said he's going to go to the shooting range tomorrow morning. Okay, can you ask him to store his guns like in the garage or in his trunk? Because I don't want to be around them. My husband, he has a snake phobia. So I remember saying, I have a gun phobia and I don't want to be around them. Right? We are in the Uber on the way to the airport, and I am navigating this news and my anxiety and fear. With that second request, my husband said, Marissa, I'm not going to ask him to do that. We are guests in their house, and I am not going to make them do that. Uh, okay. Let's go through the steps again. Identify. Okay, now I felt dismissed, diminished, and hurt. Invite. That was just going through my body and my blood, just, just, just circulating all over. Intentional action. I can't remember if it was in the Uber or while we were going through security, right? We're just like slowly getting closer and closer to this reality of me being in a situation where I didn't feel safe and didn't have enough boundaries set in place to ensure that safety. So the new intentional action, which I said out loud, was I don't have to go. And it was hard. My husband proceeded to be cold, dismissive, and resolute in his previous statement. I'm not going to ask them to do that. We are guests. And I had to navigate that. So, got through security, got to the gate. I think I may have told him one more time, can you ask that the guns be stored away while we're there this weekend? But it was not successful. Identifying my anxious, fearful, dismissed, and now worried feelings. This is happening now in the airport with my husband. What's going to happen when I get there? I opened my laptop, logged on to southwest.com. I canceled my flight and I called my dad to pick my ass up. That was my intentional action. I don't have to go as a statement. And then I don't have to go as an action. Remember, I looked at my husband, I said, bye. And yeah, he's just cold, dismissive, such a man in that moment. And I got my suitcase, put my backpack on, and I rolled out of the airport for my dad to pick me up. And I remember I wanted a Hollywood ending where my husband would chase after me and say, I'm so sorry. I'll set the boundary. And he didn't. I also, while walking away, worried how dramatic, anxious, lame, high strung I would look, did look to my husband, brother, mother, and father in law. I also worried I would get in the car and my dad and mom would shun me for being such a drama queen. This is what happens when we honor our feelings. We worry about how our honoring of them will be perceived by others. And ultimately, baby girl, that doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. I did not feel safe. I did not feel secure. I did not feel emotionally supported. And I did not have to go into a weekend where I'd potentially have to face that for 72 hours when I could identify, invite, take intentional action based on my emotions and be in a safe environment, in a supportive environment where I'm not having to worry about firearms. My dad picked me up and we had my own place. We had our own place at the time, but I spent the weekend at my parents' hiking, catching up on errands, and relaxing. My husband called me later that night after he landed to apologize. He explained to his mom, dad, and brother what had happened. And they all said to him, why didn't you tell us? We would have agreed. Like, so he was being a codependent, all worried about what they would think of my boundary and request, right? But let's keep the focus on ourselves. And that's what happened. And my visits since then have been amazing. I haven't had to deal with any moments of discomfort or compromise with my safety. And I felt really good after some time. And I want you too to feel really good for honoring your feelings, facing the discomfort that comes with honoring them, and experiencing the long term payoff, the long term benefit to honoring them. All right, tale of two feelings quickly. I'm not perfect. With booking guests for this podcast, baby girl, I've fucked up with the steps. Identify. I have hesitated and been reluctant with having certain people on. Invite. I have not invited the hesitation and reluctance. I have denied, repressed, and suppressed it and thought they're cool. They're friends with this person, or they talk about this cool thing related to codependency. It's an opportunity. Deny, repress, suppress. Bad. No inviting. Intentional action. I take the opposite. I have booked them to come on. I have gone back and forth in a disorganized manner via email. I have felt more hesitant and more reluctant the whole time. I have met with them. I have sat with them. I have recorded an entire episode, questioning it the whole time. And I haven't aired those episodes because I don't sense it will resonate with you. But I felt like shit for wasting their time, for wasting my time, and ultimately for dishonoring my hesitation and reluctance. Marissa, you're the host of the fucking Codependent Dummy podcast. Why are you being such a codependent dummy with your guests? Part of me wants to say, if there's only been a couple, it's only been a couple. It's really only been a couple. And a couple is too many. It's too many. I do not have time to waste. You do not have time to waste. I need to honor my feelings, and so do you. So that's my commitment. That is your homework. Identify, invite, intentional action, and iterate. When you have a feeling, especially negative ones, positive ones too, what I want you to do this week. You can email me questions, application of the process, marissa@codependummy.com. You can come on the Codependent Dummy Dilemma to talk through this 4-step process for you and me and all the other listeners to hear. And I am rooting for you. Before I say bye, a quote. You got a song, now you get a quote. Currently, I'm reading, I don't have it here, Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Esquibel. So good. It's long, but good. I recommend it. In it, she writes this quote. It is just as fatuous to think that once we solve an issue, it stays solved. That once we learn, we always remain conscious ever after. No. Life is a great body that grows and diminishes in different areas at different rates. When we are like the body, doing the work of new growth, wading through la mierda, the shit, just breathing and resting, we are very alive. We are within the cycles of the wild woman. If we could realize that the work is to keep doing the work, we would be much more fierce and much more peaceful. I'm going to say that last part again. If we could realize that the work is to keep doing the work, we would be much more fierce and much more peaceful. And that is a wrap. Today we are celebrating 8 months. This is episode number 41. Thank you for being here. Those of you who have been here the whole time. For those of you who are new, thank you and cheers to you. Until next time, I want you to remember, if you are feeling unseen, I see you. If you are feeling unheard, I hear you. And if you think that you don't matter, know that you matter to me. I want you to go out there so you can stop playing small and start taking up space with Demi. Take care.
And now, the disclaimer. Girl, this is not therapy and I am not your therapist. This podcast is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regards to the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the host, publisher, or guests are rendering any legal, clinical, or other professional service. If you want or need a professional, please find one.